Shut up and sit down.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to an episode of the Don't Be Beardo podcast. This is episode 27 with my special guest, RB3. How's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Good, man. What's up?
Nothing much, man. Just a nice, breezy afternoon. Getting to talk some Blade Runner with my friend Beardo here, so this is going to be great.
Yeah. So you talked about, is it Denis Villeneuve?
Yeah, I think Denis Villeneuve.
Oh,
Denis Villeneuve.
Is it? Like, I saw that there's like 3 syllables or 2 syllables. Like, people are getting right into their name, but I'm going to say Denis Villeneuve. You talk about him on the Meaning of podcast with Ace that you co-host with?
Yeah, we had discussed the filmography of Denis Villeneuve. Starting all the way back from not his first feature, I guess, but his breakout Incendies, all the way up until Arrival, kind of anticipating for the new Blade Runner film. So
you've seen like all his movies?
Yeah. Even we discussed even like a early short film of his that we discussed on there as well. So
damn. So you're like a Denis Villeneuve expert now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of him for a long time, especially doing the Meaning of podcast that I've seen a lot of his movies already. Whether it had been the only one I hadn't seen really in depth was Incendies, so I had to rewatch that like 1 or 2 times to really get an understanding of what that was about. But all of his other films I had watched quite a few times and enjoyed. So it was going into it, I was pretty prepared for that episode.
So were you when you first heard he was going to direct the new Blade Runner, were you excited or were you like skeptical about it, or how'd you feel?
Well, I wasn't excited for the new Blade Runner when they first announced it. I mean, I guess a lot of people weren't, but it's just like, what's the point of doing it, this far after? I mean, it doesn't really make sense to me. And it's just like the idea of like those long gap sequels where there's just like a long gap in between. Whatever.
You don't like those where it's like 30 years since the first one, or 20 years, 40 years?
Yeah, no, I'm not a big fan. And then, but it's funny, they kind of announced the Blade Runner thing pretty much in 2015. I think that was like kind of the big year where we saw like every franchise was doing the 30 years later thing.
Oh yeah, like Star Wars came out.
Mad Max, Fury Road came out.
So it can be hit or miss too. Like when you have like a Creed reinvigorate the franchise, that works. Mad Max worked, but like all these other ones, it doesn't really work all the time.
Yeah, and Force Awakens worked pretty cool too. But there's stuff like Vacation, which also came out in 2015.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of them, and like I don't like the whole idea of like, oh, you have to like bring in somebody's son to continue the story, or they're trying to rebuild a franchise. And especially for something like Blade Runner, because to me, Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies, like of just all time. It's a movie I connect with a lot.
Wow.
I think it's probably one of the more seminal films for me. So for them doing a sequel, I was like, what are they really going to add to it now?
Yeah, like where are they going to go with it?
Yeah, exactly. And Harrison Ford is just kind of phoning stuff in too. But I guess it was kind of before The Force Awakens. So
yeah, it's weird. Sorry to cut you off, but it's weird that like The Force Awakens like kind of like woke him up, where it's like, hey, I'm gonna try acting again.
Yeah. And I guess he had to get time with it because now Indiana Jones is coming back. Blade Runner's back. So I don't know.
So let me hear your thoughts. I know what you said on Twitter, but I want to hear like your overall thoughts of Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. Listen, this is a thing. I think there's 2 different levels of like disappointment. You know what I mean? I think there's a level of disappointment where there's just a terrible movie that you thought was going to be good. I think there's a separate level of disappointment that I think I'm on, of where the movie is good. It lived up to, I guess, everybody else's expectations, but it just wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the case with Blade Runner,
Yeah.
For 2049.
So you can respect that it's not a terrible movie. It's just like something that didn't connect with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's well-made movie. It's probably one of the best looking films I've seen in a long time. Just the visual design of it, whether that be the cinematography from Roger Jenkins and production design. I mean, his vision of the future was probably one of the most original and interesting visions of the future I think I've ever seen, kind of being influenced by like Trelawski and Kubrick and all this cool stuff. And it looks really good. And it has a really cool presentation of the future. But for me, looking at it on a philosophical level or like on a theoretical level, it kind of abandons a lot of what the original Blade Runner meant to me. And so I couldn't really get on board with it.
Let me go back to the original Blade Runner. It came out in 1982. When did you first see the first Blade Runner?
First Blade Runner I probably saw like early on when I was getting into movies. So probably like 2010, 2011-ish.
Okay. And which cut did you see? That's like an important question too.
Yeah, the original cut was the first cut I saw.
With the narration?
With the narration, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And did you like it right away, or did you take some time to like get into it?
Well, no, when I first saw it, I thought it was super boring. So, but then something kept like bugging me about it. Like I almost had to like come back and watch it again, and then I watched it again and again and again, and I got really into it. And I'm one of those weirdos that kind of likes the original cut a lot. Yeah, a lot of people say the final cut's better, and all. I can see why. But for me, I like that the narration kind of added like this really like cheesy noir aspect to it, while also I don't know. I thought that I think the narration's bad, but it's bad in the way that a lot of those like 40s like Anthony Mann movies were or something like that, so
like the old school film noirs where it's like she was looking at me and I saw in her eyes that she knew what I was talking about, like cheesy like voiceover stuff like that.
Right, exactly. And like it's funny because I have that Film Struck service, like the streaming service, that's all about like classic movies and independent stuff on there. But mainly I go on there to watch like those old kind of style noir black and white things. Those are it's one of my favorite genres, and sci-fi being another one of my favorite genres. It's a perfect combination of the two.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool mix of the two, because you get this future set in 2019. And also like the noir, like the deep shadows and the great like scores and everything.
And it's also like really experimental too, like the music from Vangelis and all that stuff. I think overall it was like a really cool movie. But and then again, watching like the director's cut and the final cut, obviously the themes that they're trying to get across got across a lot clearer.
In the final cut?
Yeah, in the final cut. Yeah. I guess like what theoretically they're going for, like on a philosophical level, like the whole question of what's the meaning of being human, is Deckard a replicant, all that kind of stuff. That's more clearly defined, I think, in later cuts, which is interesting too.
I haven't seen. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
No. Well, I was just gonna say like, yeah, those aspects are more clearly defined as opposed to something like the original cut that's more focused on like tone and feeling and all that stuff.
Okay, so I haven't seen the original cut, so I haven't heard the voiceover. Does it define that he's a human, or does it tell you, or does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter. And that's what, and again, I come from watching the original cut probably the most, because I think that was the cut they showed on like Stars or whatever when they were played on like cable TV. But like, no, it's not like about, they don't say he's a human. They don't say anything. It's just more about like, oh, he's just a detective who's like narrating his story. But the narration doesn't really tell. It's more of just like explaining every scene to you.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Basically. Yeah, and explaining every character like as they walk in the frame. Like,
so, but it's a pretty like with the voiceover, it's pretty cut and dry what the story is. It doesn't get on the philosophical level of meeting your creator, wanting to live longer, with the meaning of life type thing.
Yeah, it hints at that, but what the final cut really brings more to the equation than the original cut is the idea that Deckard is a replicant. Because the original cut also doesn't have like the unicorn dream sequences. It doesn't have like the whole like unicorn stuff. Like they don't have mostly any of it until the very end where he sees the thing. And then also the original cut doesn't end there as the final cut does. The original cut ends on like literally a shot of him and Rachel like driving away to like some old school jazz music. Like him saying, like basically just telling you, and this is the end of the story, like
Yeah.
that kind of deal. Yeah.
Like wrapping it up, like, and they got away safely and they're gonna live together forever for long and ever and ever and all that.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly. And they actually had to they actually used footage from like The Shining and put that in because really Scott didn't want to direct that stuff.
He
So
didn't even want to shoot it, right? He didn't want, like, that was unnecessary. That was like a studio thing, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So with the original Blade Runner, do you think, well, like going off the final cut, do you think that Deckard is a replicant or do you think he's not? Or do you think it matters at all?
I don't think it matters at all. See, and that's why that thing has become such a big question,
Uh-huh.
especially after the multiple cuts. But to me, it doesn't really matter because I thought the main focus. Well, I've always interpreted the main focus of the story being: can Rachel love? Can she be human? What is the definition? Her being a replicant, but almost indecipherable. Like she's passing the Turing test. She's basically human, but she was built. So what does that definition mean? How does that change her perspective on things?
But does she know she's a replicant or does she think she's human?
Well, she thinks she's human, and then Harrison Ford, Deckard, tells her she's a replicant.
Okay.
Because she does the whole void comp test like 100 times.
Yeah.
Or 100 questions, and he still isn't able to crack it. But eventually, he's like, "Yeah, you're a replicant." And
but she thinks she's a human the whole time.
Yeah, she thought she was a human from the beginning, and then after the point of her realizing that, or Deckard telling her that she's a replicant, she knows she's a replicant.
Yeah, I would think that Deckard would be a replicant because I don't see why he would be down at on Earth still. Because isn't just like the crappy people are still at Earth, like the guy that they forced to take him to the creator, like he was like, oh, I stayed down here because I have a disease where I age faster than I should. So it's like only the people who are diseased or broken or whatever stay on Earth, whereas like the good humans go on different planets or wherever they're supposed to go.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what they were going for, is that he's kind of a broken man. He's just like the shared detective who has really nothing else going for him, right? He doesn't have a family. He doesn't have, his whatever's left of his broken career is just there. So probably for Deckard, I assume is just like, what's the point of him going to Mars if there's nothing for him there when he could work happily on Earth? I guess
Yeah, and
at least that's my way of looking at his character.
Okay, so that makes sense. So then when you go to the new movie, does it matter if he's a replicant or not?
Well, see, yeah, and that's the thing. They take the whole question of whether or not he's a replicant and stretch that all the way to his imagination. And I guess, spoiler alert, they don't really indicate whether he is or whether he isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Still, even in this new one. But yeah, I think what the new one does is it tries to evolve a lot of those themes and kind of puts a lot of those themes more forward and continues to ask more questions about them.
Yeah.
But part of the reason why I didn't like it is because, like, at least my interpretation of the answers to those questions are all like contradictory to what we've come to believe in the first Blade Runner, to me.
So are you saying like the logic behind all this doesn't really hold up or make sense?
Well, yeah, it just like what the original Blade Runner was going for is like, even if you're a replicant, like there's still meaning to life. You could still be just as human as a normal human, even if you're built.
Uh-huh.
And now the whole new Blade Runner is basically like, well, at least in my interpretation, is like, oh yeah, if you're a replicant, if you're not, I guess we're getting into spoiler territory. But
oh yeah, I'll put a spoiler tag in the beginning. We're gonna spoil the whole shit out of this movie.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So, but yeah, it's basically just like, to me, it's like, oh, here, this kid, Agent K, from the LAPD, who's a replicant, is his life really have meaning in it, or is it truly meaningless because he is not born and he is unable to feel real love, where the only thing he can love is a computer program.
Oh,
You
so
know?
you think it was asking the question like, does his life mean anything if he's a robot or
Yeah,
replicant?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then based on what I can only interpret through the events of the film, it's like at the end, it's just like, no, it's not worth anything.
Uh,
He goes on this whole crusade to see if Deckard is his father, and that ends up being just like a false illusion. His whole idea and construction of love is through this computer program Joy, but she is, as we are left to interpret at the end, she's just another piece of the programming, the mass market computer programming. And the only meaning that he is able to derive is from another replicant at the beginning of the film, the Dave Bautista character, and his interpretation is like the only thing that makes you human is dying for something you love or something like that,
yeah,
And
we're
it's like,
or sorry, go ahead.
well, yeah, exactly. Like that's, and for him, and to me, that's like, oh, so the meaning of being human is only in death. Then what's the meaning of life? And is replicant's life still meaningful? So
Or I guess I can surmise from that is like the meaning of life is sacrifice.
yeah,
So like you're not really worth anything unless you sacrifice yourself, like literally or figuratively for somebody else.
hmm
So I guess that's what the Dave Bautista character is trying to tell him, and he does, because you don't know if he dies or lives at the end, but he's sacrificing himself to bring Harrison Ford to his daughter at the end.
yeah. Which I mean, I
But
guess, yeah. I mean, making a sac, but is that the only thing that defines us from being? I mean, again, the first one is all about is love, or to me, the first one is all about is love a defining characteristic of life or of living,
uh,
um, and the second one's basically like, no, that's not the answer. So I don't know. That's kind of what essentially it boils down to.
oh, so you're saying like the films are contradicting each other, sending mixed messages of what's the meaning of life type thing?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And I guess the idea of sacrifice, and again, this is why I think the movie works for a lot of people, because the idea of sacrifice is so inherent throughout the story, that he makes a lot of sacrifices, right? He sacrifices his computer girlfriend, he sacrifices potentially starting this revolution by killing Deckard, and he sacrifices himself to get Deckard to his daughter, I guess. So
Uh-huh.
I mean, a lot of those. I guess that's a constant theme in the film, but that's just something I have a hard time agreeing with, I
Oh,
guess.
okay. I can I
Yeah.
can see like in the new movie, they try to tell you that, or I don't even know if in the old one, where it's like if you believe enough that you are human, then you become human. You take on these human characteristics.
Yes. Yes. That too. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Where I think like once Kay, the Ryan Gosling character, once he thought he was actually human, like he had these memories he saw in the tree his birthday, and he goes to the records, he sees, and based on the memory that was implanted in him, he goes to the like the children thing, and he
hmm
in the furnace, and he finds the actual horse, little wooden horse.
Right.
So that kind of tells him that, okay, this really happened, I'm really human. And then I feel like at that moment he kind of became human, or he learned to become human. Like he smiled more, he fell in love with somebody, and he took on these human characteristics, whereas before, like, he wouldn't even smile when the prostitutes were hitting on him. I think they said that, like, you don't smile, do you?
hmm
And then I don't know if the like robot threesome happened before that or after that, but I don't know. I feel like he opened up more to the joy.
Human experiences.
Yeah, he
Like.
opened up more to the joy character once he found out, or once he thought he was human, where he's like, okay, I have these emotions. I can love you now. Even if you are a computer program, like, I can still feel love towards you.
Mhm.
That's how I came away with the second movie.
Yeah, and then it's funny because in saying that, kind of the big question with Rachel in the first one is, her memories are defining what makes her human, right? Like her having implanted memories is what makes it so difficult to determine whether or not she's replicant.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with Gosling's character, except this flip. Like he has all these memories, but he knows they're all false, or he knows that some of them are false, right? That's why he goes to talk to the daughter.
Oh, so initially, he thought he was a replicant because he was told he was a replicant. So he's like, oh, these memories, they're all made up. They're all like implanted in me. That's what he was saying initially.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So does that mean he just give up on life? Does that mean like his worth as a replicant is no more, there's like no more or less valued than his work as as a human being? I mean, I don't know. And that's why I think it got a little murdered. And I think why they're trying to clearly define this arc of like this potential father and son story of this potential natural born phenomenon. So that was more of where the attention was diverted to, I think. And I think ultimately that subplot didn't really work for me.
So do you think it would have worked if Ryan Gosling found out he was the son and he actually was the son?
No, and I think that would have like made me not like it either.
That would have been too easy, right? That would have been like,
Yeah.
oh, like he's the son, and he finds out, and that's it, and it's over.
Yeah. And by the way, the twist of this movie is like the exact same twist of The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know why people aren't picking up on that, but
the one where we find out it's Ra's al Ghul's daughter or something.
Yeah. They show her as a boy the whole time. It's really a girl.
So do you feel like it was like a kind of a cheap twist, or do you think it worked?
I think it was 100% cheap.
Really?
100%. Yes.
Wow.
And even though they have set it up before, it's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess they did set it up a little bit, but they, instead of leaving like little breadcrumbs here and there, it's like, oh, here's one big breadcrumb, and then we're gonna come back to it all the way in the last act of the movie.
What's the one big breadcrumb? The when he shows her the memory.
Yeah, when he shows her the memory, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it was definitely created." And they even went as far back as to like when he's like thinking about it, he hears her little like voiceover, like the memory was real, and then like we see her or whatever. So it's like they kind of, to me it was kind of like almost like a cop out. Like
I didn't like how, like, because in the original there was no voice, or in the final cut of the original there's no voiceover. In this one, there's a few scenes where there's a voiceover and it kind of explains and kind of like spoon feeds you what's going on and what's going through his head. Yeah,
and I think I think the computer girlfriend had a lot of like exposition to get out too. Even to the extent of like, it's like whenever Ryan Gosling felt something but he couldn't say it, it was like the computer girlfriend would like just outright explain to the audience like what he was going through. So
yeah, she's like, I told you you were special, now go find the place, or go here or whatever. So like, she's telling him and explaining what he should do next, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
But so I feel like I think it was set up well, and I think there was a nice payoff to me where when Ryan Gosling shows the real daughter his memory, or before that, she says an artist leaves a little bit something of herself in her work.
Exactly, and that was the quote they had like briefly put in there, I guess, at the end.
Yeah. Oh, in the voiceover yeah. So I feel like that worked for me. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Like that's why she started crying when she saw the memory, because it was her own memory that she implanted in him, and he found out that, or he came to her and showed her like, oops, like this is your memory, and then she's like, yeah, it is mine. I don't know. I felt like it worked for me.
I don't know. It's like, to me, as somebody as like smart as Denis Villeneuve, who did Arrival, which I think the end of Arrival had some really.
Sorry, I haven't seen it yet. So
okay. Oh, I'm not gonna spoil it.
Yeah, don't spoil it. I haven't seen that one.
You know what? Actually, maybe the end of Arrival is kind of almost similar to the end of Blade Runner in a way, but it's not a spoiler. Or I guess it is a spoiler.
Where like you think something's real, and then it kind of twists on you, and it shows you that here's the real meaning, or here's the real truth.
Well, yeah, it cuts back and forth between like a flashback and what's happening in that present moment, and then kind of interpolates how these, I don't know. I guess now I'm looking at it like those are almost really close, similar endings. But again, I don't want to spoil Arrival for you, but
yeah,
Blade Runner is like I'm sorry. Yeah, go and see Arrival, please.
Yeah,
Please.
I'll go back because I've seen Prisoners and Sicario now, so I feel like he's a really great director. Like he knows how to make a good film. He knows how to create suspense and how to shoot. Well, with Roger Deakins also on cinematography, he knows how to shoot a lot of things well.
And I think there were just and I think this movie has some of the like coolest visual aspects and sound design aspects. I mean, the score when he's like riding through like Los Angeles or whatever, like to the police department, it has like that really like weird experimental kind of hinge to it.
Yeah.
But then also like that the traditional like Hans Zimmer like kind of techniques in there. Yeah, yeah.
There was points because I saw it in IMAX. I was just like, oh, that's too loud. Like, turn it down, man.
Yeah.
But
they're ramping it all the way up.
Yeah. But were you ever bored in the movie? Because it is like 2 hours and like 45 minutes. Were you ever bored during it?
I was bored whenever the girlfriend came on.
Oh, the Joy character?
Yeah. Whenever she came on screen, I was like, get this out. In fact, I'm almost curious if somebody was able to like recut the entire film and just erase her character, how much of a difference would that make? You know?
Yeah. Like, oh, sorry.
She's just vocalizing essentially what Ryan Gosling feels.
Yeah.
To me.
Where what if she's not in the movie and he kind of just like goes by himself and figures out by himself, like in the first one where he just like you just follow this guy figure out things on his own.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if that would work. I don't know.
That's something I'm really curious about, and you know, I don't know. There's that whole thing of again to me it's all supplement material with her being there because you know that whole I mean this is something I recently discovered just like reading online, but the whole sequence where he, like the whole sequence is when he's like getting like the interviews before he goes back into the LAPD office or whatever, like the system link or connect
when he's getting the interviews. Or what do you mean?
When he's like when he has to look into like that robotic eye before he goes back into the police stations.
Oh yeah, when he has to repeat whatever the guy's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that?
So apparently that's like it's like 1950 book I think of like Rage. I think it's called Rage and Fire, and that's like a direct passage out of that. Now normally you wouldn't know that kind of thing. Until you have a character like Joy who just randomly shows up on screen. Is like, here, read the book, Rage and Fire, you know? So it's like, I don't know. It's things like that really like irk how I feel. And just plus too, it's like the first Blade Runner was so ahead of its time and so groundbreaking in the science fiction landscape to me that when you have a subplot that's so indicative of a movie like Her, where you know it's like, oh, they just did this movie 4 years ago, Her, and I like Her 10 times better than I like this story. So
yeah, that's what's tough too, because the original was so influential of other movies, and this one feels like kind of just like ripping off other movies, which sucks because like it's still a good movie, or in my opinion, it's still a good movie.
No, I mean, I agree. I think it's a great movie. And I think, I mean, I would never discourage it. I think Denis Villeneuve does it again, like direction wise. I think is one of the best directed movies, edited movies, shot motion pictures. And I think so like I said, like his vision of the future Los Angeles is one of the coolest, most interesting visions I think I've ever seen. But when it comes to like the story aspects of it, and you're right, the original movie having such a big influence, I think is almost the same problem that like Valerian had earlier this year, right? Because the original Valerian comic book inspired stuff like Star Wars, Avatar. Same thing with John Carter, the original John Carter novel. I think it's called Mars or whatever.
John Carter of Mars or something.
Yeah, I had read that book in high school. I just can't remember the name of it. But that book inspired so much of what Star Wars is about, Avatar is about. But when the movies eventually come out, it's like it just looks like they're ripping off like Star Wars and Avatar because you know we already covered those territories.
Yeah, that's what sucks about the timing too. Like the new It movie, it looks like it just ripped off Stranger Things.
Yeah.
When it came out way before that.
exactly. Even going as far as to like cast one of the kids from Stranger Things,
Yeah.
in it. So,
But yeah, that's what's tough about it. Like, I still enjoyed it. There was points where I'm like, okay, like move on with it because the pace is just really slow. But that's how it is in the first one. Like it's a slow pace. It's kind of a slow burn. But you like you get to see the whole world. You get to be enveloped in the whole world and the landscapes and everything. Like that's what I wonder how now that you say like if you just take out the subplot of the love story with the girl, like how would that change the movie? That's kind of interesting. I wonder how that would be now.
yeah, and there's this whole new kind of wave of like encouragement, I guess, behind the new Blade Runner film, talking about like this is use of like gender politics and
Mm,
whatnot, like how it incorporate and I do applaud it for incorporating so many female characters.
yeah.
But to me, at the end of the day, it's like one of them is a computer girlfriend who's literally named after porn. The other one is Robin Wright, who's like the coldest, like least emotional character in the movie.
Yeah.
The other one has like maybe 5 lines, and she's just there to like kick ass, which is cool. She does kick a lot of ass, but she only
Yeah.
has like 5 lines. And the fourth is a prostitute who wants to start a revolution. To me, it's like
So you
it's
don't
like
yeah.
these characters are so dwindled down to like these minimal things that I don't know.
It's not really pushing forward like the feminism like I don't want to say agenda, but it's not really helping the cause.
Right, right, right.
Where yeah, really like
Um,
Joy is literally like a 50s housewife. It's like nice to see you home. Let me cook you dinner, let me have sex with you, and then I'll see you later after you get home from work.
right, right, right. And then her whole becoming portable thing, is like, oh yeah, and that's another thing. Is like her only access to freedom is through Ryan Gosling buying a projector. Like the only way she could get out of the house is if Ryan Gosling lets her get out the house.
Yeah, if he lets he's like, yeah, you can come with me too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about you said about the Robin Wright character? I felt like she was not her character was unnecessary, but I feel like Robin Wright specifically didn't really need to play her. Same with Jared Leto. I feel like he didn't really have to play this character because it wasn't that significant, I guess.
Yeah. Well, with Robin Wright, I think she's one of the coolest actresses. I think like probably of all time.
She's great.
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's great in House of Cards too. But here she's playing it so downbeat and so like monotonic that it doesn't really resonate with me. And she doesn't have like the same amount of time as like Emily Blunt's character in Sicario, where she has the whole movie to show her like a full range of personality,
Mhm.
Full range of intimacy and fear and conquest and all that stuff. Robin Wright's character is only there for a few scenes, and it's like she's just kind of like it almost feels like she's almost like sleepwalking through it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, her like how you say she's kind of like monotonous, or her voice is monotone, and she doesn't
mm,
really like she doesn't have. But is she a replicant though? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if they ever say that either in the film. I know she has that whole thing with him saying that the whole thing about being born isn't that special.
Uh,
So I guess she is human.
okay, and she was kind of like getting flirtatious with the Ryan Gosling character, but you can see like I don't know if she's like trying to play with him because she knows he won't have feelings or he won't play off it and kind of be flirtatious back because he's a replicant.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure um how that played either.
Mm.
And I kind of and some of those scenes with her kind of made me wonder. Well, I don't know if it was scenes with her, but definitely some scenes with Jared Leto.
Uh,
The way those scenes were edited kind of make me wonder. Oh, were these scenes play as well without the music being there? Because like there are parts when like Jared Leto's talking to somebody, I forget who it was in the film, but the music is really, really loud
yeah.
and the cuts get really, really weird. Like they're almost cutting to like when he's like turning his like side profile and then like I don't know, it's almost like a weird cut that like jumped out to me, but I almost kind of wonder if you took the music out, would that scene really work that well?
uh,
And I think that's also part of like we're talking about with Robin Wright, and now onto Jared Leto. It's like, well, did they really need to be cast in these parts in particular?
that's what I feel like because because with Jared Leto being in the movie, you want to expect more from him, but it feels like his scenes were shot in like a week in like the same room or whatever, and like I feel like they could have casted anybody else in that movie or in that part.
Yeah, and it's well, at least he had more time in here than he did in Suicide Squad, but he definitely had like a very um one beat to play throughout the film,
Mhm.
and he just kind of played it the way Jared Leto would play it, I guess. I thought his character was really cool though. I think the whole thing of him having like those mini cameras following him around
Yeah.
to use his eyes, I thought was like really interesting.
Yeah, I think I don't know if you told me that or Cody said he kind of has the same amount of screen time as the guy in the first movie, the
Yeah. That's
the creator
true too.
or I don't know what his character was called, but yeah, like you only see him for a little bit, and that's his significance, I guess.
Right, but do you remember the name of the actor who played him back then?
No, like I don't know if he was a
Yeah,
big name back then.
yeah, me neither. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's really cool that they went out and got these like really big name like A-list actors and actresses in there.
Hmm.
And Mackenzie Davis was cool as like the prostitute character.
Is she
Um,
from something?
she was in that show *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Oh,
Um,
is that like a series on a?
Yeah, it's on FX, I think,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's a really good series. Yeah, it's also like in the same vein of like Mr. Robot, kind of.
Oh,
Not
cool.
really, but it's more of like these '80s, like it's very cyberpunk as well.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and she was also like a smaller part in The Martian.
Mm.
So
Oh, okay. But I liked that in the new Blade Runner that the real daughter is played by kind of like an unknown. I certainly don't know her from anything.
yeah,
So
I don't know her either. Yeah.
so that's why I figured like the twist worked for her because you don't expect much from her when like if she was played by a well-known character, you'd be like, "Oh, she's must be important because she's played by a Robin Wright or something."
Right, and they have the whole thing of, again, I think that's going back to the central theme of it, the idea of memory creation being the key to enjoying life or experiencing life. But in the case of this movie, the person who's actually perpetrating life and who is a reflection of natural birth is the creator of all of these memories, you know?
Mhm. Oh.
So
Yeah, yeah.
like is the is her being born by replicants is her being born by replicants make her ability to dream up these memories more powerful? I think that's an interesting way to look at it too.
Yeah. See, so it adds on to like the mysticism again, I guess, like, about it. But you don't like all the answers it's giving or all the questions it's asking.
Yeah, I think it's just like I don't know. It to me it just it's kind of like I said, it almost kind of disrespects what the original Blade Runner was itching for us to, you know.
Hmm.
And saying that and I guess that's the theme of the first one. The implanted memories is what is what enables the ability to feel life. But in this one, the new Agent K character already had these memories, and he still doesn't feel there's meaning in life. His only definition of life comes through natural being born naturally.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think, and I think I will commend the movie for this. I think one thing that's really interesting about it is having not revealing if Deckard is a replicant or not,
Yeah.
because now it poses a whole separate question. Oh, is it just like replicants and humans being able to produce, or is it two replicants being able to produce, or I don't know. So
Yeah. And would it mean more? Would it be more significant if two replicants are reproducing where they don't need the humans at all?
exactly.
Yeah. Hmm. What do you think about Ryan Gosling's performance?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of plays, the sad Ryan Gosling character that he kind of doesn't drive and
Yeah.
and all those kinds of things. I mean, he was cool, but he didn't have I guess he did have things to do. Like he had some agency to him, and he would get clearly frustrated, but still have some affection to him, I guess.
Hmm.
And his interactions with the girlfriend character. But I just didn't like where that whole thing was headed anyway,
Mm.
with him and the girlfriend at least. So like their chemistry never really matched up to me in the to begin with.
Yeah.
But he was, I mean, I think in terms of his performance, he was really good and he was sharp, and he kind of plays along into like the similar kind of ways that Denis Villeneuve's characters, his lead characters, play into their fields, like how every character in each of his movies are an expert in their own field.
Yeah.
So I think he plays a lot into that.
Yeah. I thought that was a great scene where he broke down when he thought he was a human and he broke down and he screamed. I don't know if he screamed fuck, but he screamed something.
Hmm.
And then I just thought that showed it the most range in the whole movie, but the rest of the movie is kind of just like how you said, he's like sad Ryan Gosling.
Right.
Yeah.
And but I think it was pretty well done, and I think that Harrison Ford, like surprisingly, wasn't sleepwalking through this one either. So I thought he was pretty cool.
Do you think Oscar nominated for Harrison Ford or no?
Ah, no,
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 right?
no. To me, Force Awakens. If they were to give him something, I think it would have been better, at least for me, for Force Awakens.
Really? You think
Yeah, I
his
think he.
or sorry,
Oh
his
yeah,
performance is better in Force Awakens than in the new Blade Runner?
to me, yeah, to me,
Wow.
yeah.
Hmm.
He showed more range to me in this one, and Force Awakens than he did to me in this one. And I think he had a really good scene when he was confronted to meet like the Jared Leto's new creation of Rachel.
Yeah,
I think that was a really good scene.
yeah, that was a great scene when the Rachel came out. And I think I asked you this already. Do you think he was lying when he says that Rachel's eyes are green, or were Rachel's eyes really green?
I don't know. And I asked ever since you asked me this question like behind the scenes on the most recent Schmo show, and I've been trying to figure out the answer to that ever since you asked that. But I guess maybe I don't know. But I think that's a good way of looking at it too. Like he could have just lied to kind of detach himself from that memory of her.
Yeah, to know like no, that's not really her. She's really dead because or he's just convincing himself, no, that's not really her. She's dead. As opposed to if he was telling the truth, no, she has green eyes, then it's just like the creator's fuck up and it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So I think there's a lot of moments like that where it was like, oh, is this really all leading up to something, or is it just truly meaningless, like in the long run,
Yeah.
And I think that was my big problem with it.
That's what I thought about the first movie where it's like, does it it's posing the question, is Deckard a replicant or is he not? And but to me it's like, does it really matter? Where
Yeah.
yeah. Whereas this one you're trying to say like, does anything really matter?
And I agree. I think the whole, like I said in the beginning, the whole idea of is he replicant, is he not replicant, really doesn't matter, because he's still going on the same journey,
Mm.
and it's clearly established in the beginning he doesn't like killing replicants to begin with, either whether it is him being human or him being a replicant.
Mhm.
It doesn't really matter. So like in this one, they take those themes, ramp it up to 11, and have to incorporate this new kind of data storyline with the computer girlfriend, with the natural birth stuff, and which none of it really ends up falling in line with what I believe Blade Runner is about. So
Yeah, so you feel like it's kind of like unnecessary to like the main themes of Blade Runner.
yeah, exactly. And it kind of plays into the whole thing of, well, at least not directly, but the whole, it borrowing thematic elements from other science fiction movies, like the whole idea of a revolution, and reproduction. You kind of see that in Westworld.
Yeah.
The idea of everybody being hooked up to computers and being implanted false memories. It originated in original Blade Runner, but we see it executed even further and further in the Matrix franchise, like we see with the girlfriend. Again, that's her.
Yeah.
So it's like at this point at this point we've seen all these themes play out so much. The movie, to me, is like, my original fear was like, this isn't a necessary sequel, and it kind of answers all of answers all of that for me. It's like, yeah, it is pretty unnecessary because all of that material has been covered already.
Yeah. That's what's unfortunate. Like how like the Resistance too kind of feels like reminiscent of Terminator, where it's like they're
Mhm.
resisting the robots and whatever. But Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, and I don't like the idea of them having like this big franchise set up in
Yeah.
the movie. Like, we have to make a Blade Runner cinematic universe or Blade
No.
Runner franchise. I'm like, come on, man. I don't
No.
know.
That's what's great about the first one. It's like it's an intimate story, takes place in LA in one location. It goes from point A to point B and that's it. It brings up these huge philosophical and idealistic questions, but it doesn't really it's not like an action movie. It's just like kind of like a thinker.
And I think that's also one of the reasons why I was kind of tuned out from this movie too, is because I love the original Blade Runner so much for its um a simple story and the idea of it just being a plain straight up noir movie set in a sci-fi universe.
Yeah.
And with and in this movie they never really play on like the noir elements any.
No, they kind of
Um
disregarded that point.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of the looks and some of the visuals are indicative of the noir aspects, like the whole opening sequence with Batista. That kind of felt like something that would come out of a noir thing.
Yeah.
But they just kind of disregard all that and play it as a straight up sci-fi movie. And to me, that's less interesting as the genre blending that we see in the original.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you because I feel like they're missing the noir elements or the noir aspects of the original.
Hmm.
Yeah. But what would you grade this? I think you graded it an 8 out of 10 like on the filmmaking level.
Yeah, I think on the filmmaking level is definitely like an 8, 8.5, 9, maybe even a 9 out of 10. But
Yeah.
I couldn't call it a 10 because I just think objectively speaking, the pacing does get a little windy at some points. Like I said, there are moments where I'm like, oh, if the music isn't here, would this really work?
Yeah.
And the whole girlfriend character is just like obnoxious to me. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so like on that level is probably like just basing it strictly as a movie is probably like an 8 out of 10, almost like a 9 out of 10. But for me, on my personal enjoyment level, how I interpret the film, it comes out to like a 4 or 5.
Whoa.
Just because it's like the philosophically is contradicting a lot of what the original was going for. Is coming out so far after the original and taking the influences from like her, Westworld, Terminator, Matrix. It doesn't really play as strong to me, and it's just the whole concept of the sequel. And I don't like when any sequel does it.
What's that?
When a sequel takes the original question posed in the first one and just like expands it all the way to the point of like unbearability,
No.
and to me the great sequels are movies that take the central characters or the setup and expand upon those ideas, or it doesn't expand upon ideas of theme, but expand it as a new situation, as
Yeah.
a new layer. Like as opposed, like for example, the Batman Begins is all about the idea of fear, the idea of how to overcome fear and conquer fear and make people and manipulate fear to make people believe you could be like a superhero or a supervillain. Whereas The Dark Knight is not really about that at all. It's all about chaos. It's all about what is the natural idea of order and stuff like that. So and to me, that's like all great movie sequels, The Godfather to The Godfather 2, Terminator to Terminator 2. But for this movie, it's like, oh, here's the initial question that the original Blade Runner posed. Now let's ask 100 other questions regarding that. So
It's like beating a dead horse. Like we get it. There's not much to it. Do try something new or try something different. And you don't really
right.
feel like it did anything new or different.
Well, on a visual level, I think it was doing a lot of stuff different. I think, on a directing level, I should say,
Yeah.
on a cinematic level. And I'll say this too, like if, like even though I didn't really like it that much, I would be more than happy to see it again. Like I was almost kind of thinking about seeing it again today because just for the experience of it,
Yeah.
the sound design is so cool to me. The music is awesome. The visuals, like I keep emphasizing, are just gorgeous. So I'd be interested in seeing it again. But on a philosophical level, I just can't vibe with it. So
Well, what if you see it again and it like kind of asks or answers those questions that you've had, like coming from the first viewing?
I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind seeing it again, and kind of putting all of this thought that I've been thinking of over the past week to test and
Yeah.
rewatching it. But I don't know. I've also really have hated this experience the past week of just like feeling like an angry fanboy, like I don't like this movie and like wanted
Yeah.
to complain about it, but I don't like that feeling at all. So it's just
So you don't
like
want to have to relive it again.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Also, I will say, I mean, obviously, if you're watching this, and you've already seen Blade Runner 2049, but don't see it in 3D because I saw it in 3D, and like that put a big strain on my eyes.
Yeah.
Like,
I never see
destroyed.
anything in 3D. It doesn't add to it at all where like the cars are like flying over you or anything.
It adds sometimes, but there's some moments in the film that are just so dark
Uh
and so full of silhouettes that like you're straining and like trying to grab, like your eyes are trying to grab onto it. At least that was what's happening for me. Like, like it was like I had, like the whole opening sequence with Batista. Like I was kind of talking about how that was more indicative of a noir thing
yeah.
because there's so much darkness in it. But like watching it through the lens of like 3D glasses, it's like it's like destroying my eyes because I'm having to squint the whole time. You know,
Yeah,
so.
3D sucks. I never watch anything in 3D. I'll go out of my way not to see it in 3D.
Really?
Yeah.
I enjoy 3D a lot of times. Most times actually. Like if I could see a movie in 3D, I try to, but
Mhm.
that was not the best experience.
Mhm. Yeah, after I saw this movie, I initially coming out of the theater, I kind of felt empty. I was like, what was it? Did I enjoy it? Did I not enjoy it? I wasn't really bored during it. There was some points where like they could have tightened this up a little bit in the editing, but afterwards I was like, I feel like I wanted more. I wanted to be like a masterpiece. I wanted it to be amazing. But like talking with you about it more and like discussing it more, I feel like I got to see it again. I want to experience it again because I feel like it was a good movie. I just wasn't appreciating it like right away.
Mm, right, right.
Yeah.
What were some of the parts that you thought dragged on a little too long?
I don't remember cuz now it's all a blur. I think I saw like a week ago now. But
Mm,
there were some moments where it's like come on, get to it. Like do we have to see like him going to the landfill, like every shot, every him taking off, him getting there, him like everything was just like long and
yeah.
drawn out. But you that's how you experience the world. So I wonder if I see it again, will I be like, "Oh, that makes sense that they kept it in and kept it so long."
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, did you make any making of the whole thing with the bees that kept happening
Oh
when he
yeah.
landed in Vegas? I guess.
My coworker asked me that. She's like, "What do you think about the bees? Like what do they mean?" And I looked it up online where I saw someone else's interpretation where it's like Uh, it shows something with the flower that he found by the tree with his birthday in it,
Hmm.
where it's like Deckard must have been by the tree or something because it shows that bees need flour, something like that. I can't remember. But
Mm,
when I first saw it, I was like, that's weird. Bees are weird, or it's like why do they include that if it didn't like lead up to anything? But I understood that it's like kind of like a callback to the first movie where Deckard asks Rachel, he's like, "You see a wasp on your hand. What do you do with it?" And she says, "I swat it away." So I felt like that was kind of like a callback to the first movie, where like he
mm.
didn't really swat it away. He kind of just like left it linger on his hands.
Oh, okay.
But
Oh, wow. Oh, shoot. Yeah, I think you just like blew my mind there, man.
you, you didn't think about that?
I never connected the dots. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Damn. Yeah.
So I don't know if that means like he's a replicant or anything, but it's just like I felt that that was a small callback to the first movie.
Mm.
What
Yeah, that's interesting.
what did you think of the bees?
I don't know. I hadn't thought anything of it. That's not
You-
like I've been trying to like read a bunch of I guess like theories about it and stuff like that. But like there's almost like no writing on what the beast meant. So
yeah,
but now that you said that, it's like okay, that totally makes sense.
yeah. But I like that whole sequence where they go to his to meet Deckard in Vegas and the whole world and everything. That the whole sequence was amazing.
Yeah, I wonder why it was like so radioactive and why everything was just so red. Like
Yeah,
um
I don't know why. And I thought like they said like no one could live there and through all that radiation. but Deckard was
Yeah,
still there. So does
I
that
guess
mean
that's more of the replicant. I
yeah?
guess. Yeah.
And then he asks like, "Is that dog real?" And he kind of just like shrugs it off. He's like, "What do you think?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like they never really tell you. They never really answer anything. But I feel like that was a callback to the original too, where Deckard asks, "Is that Al real?" And
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
then I forgot what she says, like no, like some I don't know. I don't remember.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah. No, it's a strange film to say the least.
I enjoyed it. I
Um,
want to see it again. I think I enjoy it after like thinking about it. I was like, yeah, that was a good movie. I don't know about like best picture nominee or anything other than like technical, like directing or visual effects or anything like that, but I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Now, what do you make of the whole box office like failure of it?
Yeah, I don't know cuz they were marketing the hell out of this movie like I saw billboards everywhere, I saw commercials everywhere, but I don't know cuz the first one wasn't like a big hit either. So
Yeah.
like I feel like that doesn't translate over into like a for sure thing in the new movie. But to do like so poorly and like 30 million, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think for any other sci-fi movie that would be like a really good opening weekend.
Uh-huh.
But for something that costs like 180 production and we have no idea how much like marketing that's a big price tag to put on any movie. So I don't know. I mean, to me it's like, that's also another worry of mine is when they first said this whole sequel thing was happening. Because it's like nobody saw the original really,
Yeah.
even to this day, like nobody has seen the original. And when I'm walking out of the theater, I hear people is like talking, they're like, yeah, it's good, but I feel like I've seen it before, and
Yeah.
not like a lot of people are like haven't don't have the frame of reference of the original Blade Runner and have a more of a frame of reference of more modern movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I just know there's a lot of people who don't even think it's a sequel. That just think it's like a new like original kind of film. So,
Like they don't know of the original one or they don't like what do you mean they don't think it's a sequel?
or they just think, oh, there's this new movie, Blade Runner 2049,
Mm.
coming out. Like it's not like the hit sequel to the original hit, 1982 classic. It's just like, oh, it's another movie. And when I saw it in theaters, like when I saw it, I mean, I don't know if it was the same for you, but the whole reveal of like when he first walks into Harrison Ford's house and walks into Decker's house, and it's like you hear his voice coming up through like off screen, and then he comes out through the shadows. Like I feel like in most movies that would be like a big reveal, like like if it was like a superhero movie or something,
Yeah.
that'd be like a big like a plot moment. But and here, like when I saw it, at least in my theater, like nobody were like getting the significance of that.
No
So.
one was affected. But I feel like if like Harrison Ford didn't do the marketing or we didn't know he was in this movie, it would have been such a big reveal. We're like, holy shit, like Deckard is in this movie.
Mhm.
But I get it that like he needed to sell the movie. He needed to say like, hey, Harrison Ford's in this movie. He's coming back from the original. But
Yeah, they need to make as much money as possible
yeah,
off of this. So,
but I feel like I don't know if I mentioned it to you where I looked up the cinema score and what do you think the cinema score is for this? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing like A minus ish,
Oh shit,
B
yeah,
B
it's
plus
actually an A
ish.
minus.
Oh, okay, okay.
See, I would think it would be I think it would be less because I assume that people went in to this movie expecting like an action movie or like a type of not I don't want to say Transformers type, but just some like big spectacle movie where they got is kind of just like a sci-fi wannabe noir.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of box office projections miss the mark. Like I think when kind of evaluating the movie, a lot of people were just thinking of, like a mainstream audience going to see it.
Yeah.
Like you said, like a Transformers audience or anything else. But what really the market it targeted and what the marketing was successful at, we're bringing in like adult science fiction fans.
Yeah.
Like I said, the average moviegoer, might not know it's a Blade Runner sequel, but they will know that it's an adult science fiction, R-rated science fiction movie. So it's not something that's going to be like this grand spectacle action thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's where a lot of this audience is, and I think that's where it's successful.
Yeah, that's why I thought the cinema score would be lower, because I thought it would be people expecting like this huge thing, and they would be like, oh, that was boring. I just saw Ryan Gosling walk around forever, so I'm gonna give it like a C or something.
Right.
But I don't know. But I guess, and also like not a lot of people saw it, so it's only like really the hardcore fanboys of the original, or fanboys of Ryan Gosling or Harrison Ford, who saw it and they loved it.
And I think, there's not a big market for adult science fiction now. A lot of what the sci-fi we're exposed to now is a lot of like Star Wars, the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And even when we get stuff outside of that, like Valerian is really goofy and over the top, or like Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, there's movies like Arrival that do really well. There's movies like Ex Machina that did really well.
Yeah.
And I think, and Blade Runner, again, if they spent less money on Blade Runner, it probably would have done really well too.
Yeah.
But they spent a lot of money on it, so it's probably it's not successful in that way. But I think, especially I don't know if you've seen the previews for that new Natalie Portman movie.
Annihilation.
Annihilation, yeah. I think that has some real potential there to do something really special. So.
Yeah, that's from the director of Ex Machina, right?
Yeah, Alex Garland. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for them. I loved Ex Machina. I loved the whole look and the whole like originality of it. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think about like how there's no really like sci-fi rated R adult movies out there.
And so I think when one does come out, there's definitely like a devoted audience that will go to see that. And I think a lot of that audience came. I think Blade Runner 2049 is almost like the max we could see from an audience like that. Because if that $30 million opening would have came for Arrival, that would have been a big hit, because they spent $50 million on it. But $30 million for $180 million production budget plus $100 million marketing is not a good look. So
yeah, that's I don't know. I don't know if it'll be like a loss on their end. I don't want to say like it's a failure, because it's not. It's just like it didn't have an audience, I guess.
Yeah, it didn't hit, I guess, the bar that they thought it was going to hit. So
yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Maybe if I see it again, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. But you said a 4 or 5 out of 10.
Yeah, for my personal barometer. Yeah.
Yeah, but. Yeah, thank you for talking to me about it, man. I appreciate it. I love discussing the movies afterwards, especially with a guy who has like a different opinion of mine. I don't want to just be like, "Yeah, it was awesome." Yeah, it was awesome, but I like seeing like your perspective on things.
Yeah. It's funny. You got me last time with you got me talking about the Spider-Man Homecoming deal that even today I'm still getting tweets about.
Really?
Yeah.
What are people saying?
Well, just like there was no like racial message going on in Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, I don't know what you're talking about, RB3. You're crazy. But
that's funny. That was like 6 months ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely more than happy to come on here and spread some hot takes. On the Don't Be a Beardo podcast.
Cool. Yeah, it's my show. I'll do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Where can people find you on the internets?
You can find me Twitter, Instagram, RB3 Schmoes. Check out me and Ace's podcast, The Meaning of. Doing great, I think, so far. We did Denis Villeneuve, Darren Aronofsky, Matthew Vaughn, and this week we're doing Edgar Wright.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that's gonna be a really fun episode.
You like Baby Driver though, right?
I thought it was okay.
Nah, it was great, man. I loved Baby Driver. Thank you so much for doing this. You can find me at Schmoes Beardo, and after this, I'm gonna do a Q&A real quick. I'm gonna let you go. I know you got to get to work.
Yeah. USC bookstore is where it's at, baby. So I'm wearing the USC guard right now.
All right, thank you so much for doing this. I'll see you later, man.
Have a good one.
You too. All right, everybody. Welcome back to episode 27 of the Don't Be a Beardo podcast. Now I have my special guest.
Hi.
Alexis Tula.
Hey, what's up, Schmo?
A little more energy. Come on. It's late at night. I don't know. It's like 7 o'clock right now, but it feels late because it's been a long day. It's been a long weekend. I try to get you Alexis on the episode with RB3, but you were working, you were busy.
Yep. Getting that money.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for missing out on the episode. But before this happens, I just had a segment with RB3. We talked about Blade Runner 2049 for like an hour.
Right.
Yeah. He didn't like the movie. That's why I wanted him on the episode.
Wow. That's interesting.
Because I think he tweeted about it. He said, technically, he gives the movie an 8 out of 10, but for him personally, he gives a 4 out of 10 for the movie.
This kind of works out perfect. One of the first questions I was going to ask you was about Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to read that off for you?
Oh, before we start, I'm doing a Q&A now because I tweeted out, I wanted to do a Q&A initially, so I tweeted out a question or a tweet saying, hey, give me all your questions and I'll answer them on the next Beardo episode. But then I came up with the idea to have a discussion with RB3 about Blade Runner, and we talked for an hour.
Wow.
Because I wanted to talk about it. I didn't get a chance to talk about it on the Schmoes. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it on the Wangers, but it's my show. I'll do what I want. And we talked about Blade Runner.
Wow.
So what's the question that this guy asked?
The question comes from a Chris Catrev at Weapon X1X, which I assume is Roman numerals.
It's probably like 15. X1, XIX.
Yeah.
No, 19, right?
I don't know.
10,
Roman numerals.
10, 9, whatever. Who cares? What's the question?
The question is, have you seen Blade Runner and the sequel, and what do you think of them? Do you get them? Question mark. Good luck.
I saw the original one a long time ago, but I don't count it as seeing it because I kind of just played it in the background, and I figured like if it'll be interesting, it'll catch my attention. But that I don't count that. So before we saw the second
original,
we saw the new one on Tuesday. So I said, hey, before that, let's watch the original.
Right.
So I put on the final cut, the one without the narration, and we watched it.
There's a version with the narration.
There's like 3 or 4 different versions.
Right.
Yeah. So we saw the final cut, which is what the director really wanted to have.
Oh, okay.
So, but in the original cut or like the theatrical cut, there's a narration, there's voiceover kind of explaining the whole movie.
Right.
Which people don't really like because they don't want you to like have like spoon feed you the plot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we saw the original on Monday, and it drags a lot for me, but thinking about it more and like explaining it more and talking about it more, I come to appreciate it. And I think, and I'm like, oh, well, that was really cool. That was a really good movie. Because I told my coworker the next day, I was like, have you seen the original? And then I kind of explained, oh, it's about robots and they try to meet their creator and they want to live longer. They want to live past their 4-year expiration date. And I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah.
But you were bored during the first one.
I was bored. I mean, I love 80s movies, so like I love the whole feel of it and everything, but at some point this is how I grade my movies, is if I have the itch to pick up my phone, then it's kind of like this movie's not really that great because my interest is lost already. So, I mean, I picked up my phone and I was just like, yeah, it's a great background noise. I mean, it was a good movie. I'll give it that because I love the 80s feel. But it was just kind of like very slow. And I was like, okay, like what's really going on here? I felt like there was so much going on. I was like, okay, whatever.
It didn't catch your interest right away.
No, not
because
right
it doesn't spoon feed it to you. It's not like, here, this guy, he wants to, there's an interaction and he's talking to people. It's kind of just like living in his world.
I feel like because I didn't know that, if you told me, I don't remember. But I feel like if I saw the narration like with the movie, I'd probably enjoy it a little bit more because I'd be like, oh, okay, that's what's going on. And I wouldn't have that whole trying to figure it out by myself.
Yeah.
You know,
because you're impatient. So you just want the story
I just want
like
it now.
given to you.
Yeah.
But so we saw that and I slept on it and I sat on it and I was like, that was pretty good. And then I was excited to see the new one because I like the director and I like Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford and all them.
I just like Ryan Gosling.
But you said you didn't like him in the movie.
I didn't, and I blame you and, you know, this whole movie world for that because I feel like, you know, I pay attention to so much stuff that you do and you explain movies to me in a different way than I see them, that it got to me to the point where I was watching it and I was looking at Ryan Gosling and I wasn't seeing him as his character. I was seeing him as Ryan Gosling, this heartthrob, you know, hot actor. And it ruined it for me because I was like, no, like now I can't watch any of his movies without thinking like, oh, that's just Ryan Gosling acting.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, he's acting.
Yeah.
Like that's not good though, because like there's roles where like the actor loses himself in the role.
Yeah.
But this one, I didn't get that though. I didn't think that's like, oh, that's Ryan Gosling acting. I felt like he was really like the replicant or whatever he was.
Yeah, I mean, I got that, and then I feel like sometimes when movies do that, you know, that's when you know certain parts about like, oh, that's an important character when it comes to like the small characters.
Yeah, when we're saying, hey, Jared Leto is in it for 20 minutes.
You're like, oh, he must be like really important. There must be something really huge there that, you know, you're kind of looking like, okay, what's going to happen with him? Whereas some of the smaller characters, you're just like the prostitute, you're just like, okay, like nothing's really going to go on there. She's just, you know, she's just a spy.
Yeah.
You know, she's not that big of an important character, and then you find out like she's part of this bigger thing.
Yeah, you wouldn't like if you a known actress, but I think RB3 said like she has been in some TV shows, so she's kind of known. Nothing that I've seen, but like you're saying, if she was a known actress, like a Mila Kunis or something, you're like, oh, she's gonna be important later on.
Yeah, exactly.
But because we talked about this for an hour, what are your thoughts of like the overall movie of Blade Runner 2049?
Genuinely, from like a production standpoint, I think it was beautifully made. Everything about it was like just amazing. But from a moviegoer to have entertainment standpoint, I was just kind of like,
like an entertainment factor. It's just like
it was good. I mean, I wouldn't watch it again. I did recommend to my coworkers saying like, yeah, watch it. It's a really good movie, but it's not something I would see again.
That's the thing. After talking about it with RB3 for an hour, I was like, I kind of want to see it again.
Really?
Because like there might be some things I missed.
You have fun with that.
Yeah, you're not gonna see it again.
I'm not gonna go at all.
But I might just like rent it or buy it on Blu-ray or something, watch it at home. But because it's 3 hours long, so it's like I have to like set aside 3 hours. You get that feel
in the middle of the movie. I remember just sitting there, and I think you looked at me, and I was like, okay, come on. Like,
yeah, I had to grab your phone away from you because you're like checking the time.
No.
But RB3 asked like, what are some points or parts that you think could be trimmed down, and I couldn't remember really, but I don't know.
Yeah,
because it's kind of like all blurred to me. That's why I want to see it again. RB3 didn't like the love story with the girl,
with the robot,
with the his like
hologram,
his like Siri type girl.
Yeah.
So he's like, I wonder how the movie would be if she's not in it at all.
I thought that was like, that was a good part.
It was great, right?
I mean, but I feel like that's maybe a girl standpoint. Like we all like, I feel like a lot of girls just look for that romance factor in movies that it's like, it makes it interesting for us.
See, I thought it was like the most human part. I think you said it too. It was the most human part of the movie.
Yeah.
But even though she's a robot.
Yeah, she felt the most real out of everyone.
Yeah. But now I'm like kind of curious to see how it would be like if that whole subplot wasn't in the movie at all.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I liked it. I would see it again, but you wouldn't see it again?
I mean, if it was like a Sunday and it was like 2 PM and all my chores were done and I wasn't doing anything and I turned on the TV and it was on like Showtime or something, I'd watch it.
Yeah. It's just because then it can be like something you missed. You're like, wow, that's a really cool.
Yeah,
shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not something I would watch again right away.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to see it again now, but enough about Blade Runner. We talked about it for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, we'll move past this.
Let's get to more questions from the Schmoville people from my Twitter.
I'm going to start with one of your angst Twitter followers.
Angsty?
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know, I asked on Twitter, Schmo's Beardo. Sometimes I'll tweet out, say, hey, hit me up with a question. So that's how you can get in contact with me.
All right. So this one, apparently last week, he tweeted at you and asked you a question. You liked the tweet and we didn't ask it. That's probably my fault because I picked the questions. So we're going to go ahead and read the tweet for everybody. It's from @JosephStrudel.
Yeah, Strudel.
Toaster Strudel. We got him saying, you liked my last one without answering it, you fuck. Whose idea was it to give you this podcast? Like, who approached you and why? Thanks.
His original question was who gave me who allowed me to have a podcast?
I assume so. I probably should have checked.
Oh, you didn't check the original?
No, I did not.
He
Re-asked a question.
Yeah. So he really wants to know, like, why does this fuck have a podcast?
What makes you so great?
I've been doing my own podcast since 2013. That's when I first started. When I first got into podcasts, and I liked podcasts from comedians, from writers, from like, I don't know if Serial was on back then, but I just got into podcasts a lot in college. It would be like stuff I would listen to because I lived on my own, and I would just like, I put it on background noise while I'm and I can't say like vacuuming because I wouldn't be able to hear it. While I'm washing the dishes or something, I would just have background noise. So then I took a class on audio, and then I was like, I could start my own podcast. I can do this. Like, why? What's holding me back from doing this? So I bought like shitty mics. I bought this Focusrite 2i2, which I still have. It's still right here. That's how we take phone calls for schmoes. That's the first thing I bought to do podcasts for. We use it to take phone calls now.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? I just thought about it. But so I always wanted to, well, I don't know if I always wanted to interview people, but like you learn right away that like you can't just like start a show and then just have a show. Like the first show I had was my buddy. I asked him if we can fill out his OkCupid profile.
Oh yeah.
Just to give like some questions or something, just
some substance.
Just to have some content. So then we did that for the first episode, and then the second episode we kind of looked at his matches and stuff and see like who he matched with and found. But then the third episode I was like, what, like, can we do this like forever? Like what can we make this show about? And what can we really like develop the show into? And then that's when I hit up Chase, which we mentioned on the Wanger show all the time.
Yeah.
Christian Copster's cousin. I hit him up and I was like, hey, can I interview you on my podcast? He's like, what's a podcast? I was like, oh, it's this thing where like I have microphones and I ask you questions about like what's going on and what's going on with your life. What do you want to do? Blah, blah, blah. So I did that and people liked it. Like I didn't expect anyone to listen. Like I don't expect anyone to listen to my podcast ever because it's just like, who's that guy? Like who gives a fuck what he thinks, you know? But then people like responded to it. They're like, hey, that was really entertaining. Like the time flew by when on my car ride home or something.
Yeah.
So then I liked what we kind of developed or kind of broke out of that episode, I guess. So then after that, I started asking other people like, hey, can I interview you next? And then that went on for like maybe like 20 episodes. And then it got to a point, it was all like friends and family and stuff.
Yeah.
But then it got to a point where it's like, no, like I don't want to like beg everyone to do a podcast. Like I couldn't get a guest on, like kind of like with Beardo, like it's tough to get a guest like with our schedules and our times and our locations and stuff.
Yeah.
Like people are out of town all the time. But that's how I got into podcasting. I started my own, and then that developed. So then when I came on the Schmoes, they were looking for content for their SK Plus channel. And then I always wanted to get back into podcasting. So I think I asked Harloff or I asked Copster. I was like, hey, can I interview people? Like, because I've been doing it for a while. Can I interview people for my podcast? And then at that time, I didn't know that Harloff did it. And then that Ken did it. Ken Knapsack. I knew he had the Knapsack files, but I thought it was like his own type thing where it's like 3 things of what to buy at 7-Eleven. I didn't know it was like an hour-long like discussion until like I listened to it after. I was like, oh shit, that's the same thing I'm doing. But there's a lot of podcasts like that where it's like like everyone does interviews.
Yeah.
But so that's how I came to be here.
So to kind of answer his question, who gave it to you? Who like allowed you to have
my own show?
Yeah. Who gave you Don't Be a Beardo?
Harloff, Christian Harloff.
Okay.
He was like, because I wanted to interview RB3 initially because we had him on the Wanger show and we didn't really like get him in because the Wanger show already started and we had RB3 on. It was like the 4th or 5th episode, and I was like, we didn't really get to know RB3. Like, why did we have him on? So then I was thinking like, hey, what if I have my own show where I can interview RB3 for an hour and a half? and get into his life and where he's been and what he wants to do. So that premiered. That was the first episode of Don't Be Beardo. So I thank RB3 for that. And then I came to Harloff, and he's the one that gave me the Beardo nickname. And then he's the one who gave me the episode or the podcast name.
Yeah.
He's like, I got it. It's called Don't Be a Beardo. I'm like, okay, I don't know what it means, but whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. You can call it shit, fart, fuckface, but I just want to have a show.
Yeah.
So that's how it came to be.
It's crazy to think about. Like, I think it was like a year ago, like close to around this time last year, that you got the nickname Beardo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been with Schmoes for about a year now, like on the actual show. Because my first show was the show before Halloween.
Yeah.
So I think that's like this week or maybe next week.
Yeah. So he nicknamed you Beardo, and then you went and shaved your beard off the next week.
For Halloween. Yeah. So, Harloff let me have my own show, and he's letting me do what I want. He gives me notes. He listens to my interviews sometimes. He's like, hey, you can't do that. I'm like, okay, I can't. I won't. I'll take that out or something. Yeah. But it's fun.
Yeah. Well, that kind of answers this next question from at SMG Reviews. Said, did you get the idea for Beardo from the Christian Harloff podcast? So you kind of just got it from yourself and from Harloff.
Yeah. I've always interviewed people, and I don't know if he had the Harloff podcast already, maybe, but he only did like 4 or 5 episodes, and then he kind of like went away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, he's not going to do it anymore. So I'm like, I'll just take over and like interview Collider people. But I want to talk to him about like interviewing like people outside of Collider. Like I know there's like a bunch of YouTube channels, but I want to interview comics too, because I always like talking to like comedians.
Funny people.
Yeah, because I feel like they're the most. First of all, they're fucked up. Like if you go to the Comedy Store, like any like comedy store, any stand-up place, all the comedians hang out there until 1 a.m. They're all fucked up, but that makes for entertaining episodes because they know how to talk on the mic. They have these crazy stories of doing what's up.
Are a lot of their like stand-up like stories, are those like from their actual life? Like you're laughing at it because it's true.
Yeah, they come from experience. They say like write what you know. So like a lot of them were maybe abused growing up or something. Maybe that's not always true like for everyone, but a lot of them just go because I don't want to say they don't have anywhere else to go, but they go and they make fun of life and make fun of themselves just to laugh it off instead of being pissed off all the time.
Yeah.
Instead of being down on themselves all the time, they're just like, I'm gonna laugh it off and be like, yeah, I was bullied in high school, but guess what? That bully is in jail now, and like fuck him, you know. But
well, that goes with this one, kind of keeping the flow. We're keeping the flow.
This wasn't planned at all because I see the next question. It wasn't planned, like going. Yeah.
No, I mean it was there, but I'm just like, oh, we might as well just ask this one next. We have at the Gooner Jedi. He asks who your favorite stand-up comic is.
It depends on like favorite all time or favorite current because it changes. I liked Louis C.K. for a while, but then I feel like his last few specials are bad just because he's like rushing to get them out. I got to burp. You keep talking.
Louis C.K. That's no, I always get Louis C.K. Mixed up with Carlin.
George Carlin?
I don't know how. Like look wise, not
kind of
comedy wise.
They're just like bald white guys.
Yeah, they're old bald white guys that like wear black on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Louis C.K.'s Live at the Beacon Theater is probably one of my favorite stand-up specials. I love John Mulaney. His New in Town special is really good. Yeah, I don't know.
I like Ellie Wong.
She's good. She's great.
Yeah.
She writes for
Fresh Off the Boat.
Yeah, it's a funny show. She's great. I like Chelsea Peretti, but I didn't like her stand-up special. That's the thing. A lot of the comedians are getting stand-up specials now on Netflix, and I feel like a lot of them aren't ready for it. Like they just like work on it a little bit more. But I don't know. I'm just like a harsh piece of shit judgment guy. When I'm like, fix that.
Yeah, we know. You hate everything, right?
Yeah. No. Well, if you go back in the day, like Eddie Murphy, Richard Pryor was fucking phenomenal.
I've only seen like really old Cat Williams specials and like George Lopez.
I saw George Lopez.
So that's about it for me.
I used to be into George Lopez and Gabriel Iglesias. I was a big fan of the fluffy guy.
The fluffy?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really like he was like a staple in like Mexican families.
I liked Joe Coy.
I haven't heard of him. I've heard of him, but I haven't heard his specials.
Yeah.
So.
And then what is that? He's an Indian guy.
Russell Peters.
Yes, he's hilarious. He's my favorite.
He's like one of the biggest stand-ups like internationally.
Yeah, he's just so funny.
Yeah. In high school, Dane Cook was the biggest thing in the world. Like his Harmful If Swallowed, I think is the name, CD was really funny. But then after that, I was just like trying to convince myself that it was funny. But after a while, I'm just like, there's no jokes here. It's long stories that are nonsense, but there's no jokes. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm a harsh critic about everything.
Everything.
Yeah. What's the next question?
Well, you can be the critic about who is the best late night talk show host in your opinion. That comes from the same at the Gooner Jedi.
Like of all time or current? Or you would say all time?
Let's say currently.
Damn. I love David Letterman when he was on, but he's not on anymore. It depends because everyone's like really fresh. Like James Corden is fresh.
Yeah.
Just Stephen Colbert is fresh at what he does. He used to play character all the time, but now he's himself, and it's kind of rough because like his interviews are kind of rough.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get his footing, but he's good at the political stuff. And Fallon has just been Fallon. Like he's just been like
I feel like Fallon's great.
He's great.
He's great. He's good at what he does.
Yeah, like he's like good family friendly. Like just like forget all your problems and have fun at late night, which is supposed to be like the fun time.
Yeah.
Play games and laugh and do all that. Have stand-ups and have musical acts. But I would say I like Conan too, but I get tired of Conan after a while. I don't know. I just get tired of a lot of people after a while. I'm just like, I get it.
All right, so let's do all time. You say David
Letterman was always the best. Like, I got to see him before he left, and like it was funny. I got to see him before, like the week before he left or before he retired, and before he did the show, he was taking audience questions, and some guy asked a question. He's like, "Hey man, I'm a stand-up, and I've always wanted to make you laugh." So he's like, "Can I tell you a joke?" And then Letterman's like, sure, like whatever. Letterman just doesn't give a fuck anymore because he's like 70. He doesn't care. So the guy tells his joke where he's like, oh, my girlfriend always wants to hold my hand, but sometimes I don't feel like it. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden, like she fell down steps and I was like, no, I don't want to hold your hand. Something like that. And then Letterman was doing the monologue with jokes and he incorporated that joke into it. Like he just took it and he incorporated it as if like he wrote it, and it was crazy because like he made it work the way Letterman made it work. Like it was crazy. And then the camera cuts to the guy in the audience. The guy's just like cheering on because like he got to like write for Letterman.
Wow,
that was pretty cool. It was the Tina Fey episode, like the week or 2 weeks before Letterman left. The monologue that was really fun.
What year was that?
I don't know when he left. Like 2015, 2016. 2015. However long Colbert's been on before that.
Okay. So I wanted to ask, because I know you listen to a lot of morning radio shows.
Is this your question or a Twitter question?
This is my question. Who do you think is the best morning show between Howard Stern and Kevin and Bean?
It's tough because they're different.
Yeah. Like
you've listened to them because I've played it around here all the time.
Yeah.
Like Kevin and Bean are because it's terrestrial radio. It's broadcast where it's like still regulated by the FCC. So you have to break every 15 minutes and you have to do that. You have to go to commercial and have and play songs and whatever. So their bits only run for like 10 minutes. Whereas Howard Stern is on satellite. So he can go for like an hour straight.
Yeah.
So that's both good and bad with Howard because it's like, take a break, man. Like, you've said all you can say about these jokes, and like you're kind of just like beating a dead horse, and it's just like take a break, regroup, and then go to the next bit. Where Kevin and Bean is just like constant, like 5-minute, 10-minute bits. But then I don't like that with their interviews because like their interview is like, oh, we're out of time. It's like why do you have to be out of time when the guest is like I don't want to say George Lopez or like some big name guest. They have like Patrick Stewart on because they had him on. They're like, oh, we're out of time. But with Howard Stern, he can talk to them for like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I would say Howard Stern just because he's uncensored and he has these great bits that are so hilarious and he doesn't give a fuck about anybody, or he's kind of sold out where people's like, oh, you're kind of a star fucker. You're just saying like everyone's amazing, where it's like the Fallon thing where he laughs at everybody.
Yeah.
Because back then Howard Stern used to like bash on Ellen and Adam Sandler, and he used to like go after everybody. But now he has Ellen on his show and say, oh, I like how you dance. And it's like, really, dude? Like, you can't wait for Ellen to start dancing. But I like Howard Stern. Like, he's always going to be the best of the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the next question comes from @Alexis_19.
Is this you?
No, I'm not 19.
Okay.
She asks, or maybe it's a boy because my name is Universal.
A boy? No.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Alexis.
Yeah, there's a soccer player named Alexis from Mexico.
He's international, though. There's no, like, American boy Alexis.
You can actually look my name up on Facebook, and 2 people will show up. One will be me, and one will be a dude.
But from, like, internationally. Like, there's no way, like that, or that's a misspelling where it's like Alex is like something they meant for like a
No.
possession.
No,
Alex is Facebook.
No, it's a boy's name.
No, it's a girl's name.
It's a boy-girl name. It's
No.
like Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian is and Alex is, but not Alexis.
Yeah.
Come on, no.
All right, Brian.
I apologize if this is a guy speaking.
Brianna. Well, they ask, #28 days later, one of my favorite movies of all time. Have you seen it, and what do you think? And if you haven't seen it, do it.
I haven't seen it. I know you've seen it, but I haven't seen it. What?
How have you not seen it? I don't even like scary movies.
Yeah.
And I've seen it, and I actually love it.
Yeah, and you saw the second one.
I saw 28 days later and then 28 weeks later, which I think are the only 2.
You said there's a third. I don't think there's a third.
I don't think there's a third. I kind of looked it up after I thought about it.
But everyone likes it. I just haven't seen it. Like,
yeah. I just remember being like, I think it was middle school or high school, and watching it with my friend and just being like, I don't want to watch it. It's scary. And like watching it and being like, oh, this is good.
Like, I'm sure it's a well-made movie because Danny Boyle directed it. I'm sure it's great. I don't go for horror movies, even though it might just be like a drama, like a zombie drama. I don't know.
Do you like? I know it's not a zombie drama. Do you like zombie movies though?
Not really, because it's
not
because it just gets like, it's like, I get it. They're zombies. They have to find a safe space. They have to find the cure. If they don't, they're dead. If they do, they live. Whatever. That's it. Like, that's why I didn't like The Walking Dead. I was like, oh, it's the same thing. They have to find a pack of survivors. They have to survive, and they have to find the cure. Oh, they haven't found the cure yet. Okay, on to the next.
Interesting.
That's
So
what?
Like the whole survival factor. Like,
It's the same. It's the same to me. But I'll say this: when I saw, which I'm kind of like being a hypocrite about it, I liked the remake of Dawn of the Dead. I just saw that in high school. I was like, this is really good. And I think Zack Snyder directed it. What?
I've only seen Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, that's a good one too. But that's a comedy.
Yeah, I like all those movies though.
Yeah. I think Zack Snyder directed the remake of Dawn of the Dead. I'll look it up. Go to the next question.
All right. The next question comes from @FutureIs0. Being an introvert, does working with the schmoes and their high energy environment make you feel drained or exhausted much?
Yeah, Zack Snyder did direct the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, I get drained and exhausted after everything. I don't know if you're the same way. Because do you consider yourself an introvert?
I'm like, there's like a certain word I remember seeing a while back for like the person that's like an extrovert and an introvert, because there's like times where I'll be like, yeah, I want to go out and I want to be around people and I want to, drink and have fun. Yeah. And then there's times where it's just like, no, I want to sit on the couch and just like shun everyone out and just relax and be comfortable.
Yeah, but I think that's what an introvert is, because I think the introvert can have like bursts of energy and wanting to be outside. I think,
yeah, but I mean, so me compared to you, I want to go out maybe like 4 times a week, and you want to stay in like 5 times a week and go out like maybe twice.
Yeah.
If it's a good week.
I don't want to go out. I'm drained. Like after I come home from work, I just want to like sit on the couch and watch TV and then go to bed.
Yeah.
And there's times where it's, if I plan it out, if I'm like, okay, this Wednesday, I'm going to do this after work, then I'll be like, I have to get in the mindset to do that.
Yeah.
I need like a 24-hour notice where it's like, because I like schedules and I like being prepared. I don't like just being like spontaneous and just saying like, hey, let's go to the beach today. I'm like, no, I don't want to.
I feel like that's what makes you more introverted though, because like I'll be spontaneous. I'll wake up a Sunday morning and have like chores planned, and then I'll like do them, and then I'll be like, you know what? It's a good day to go for a drive and see the snow, like, or like just go see the ocean, depending on the time of the year.
Yeah.
But so that's the thing, that you'd rather just be like, no, I'm just gonna stay in. My entire plan 24/7 is to stay in. Whereas me, it's like, well, what's like, somebody asks me, what are you doing? I'll be like, I don't know yet. You tell me. And then from that, then I'll decide like, I'm just going to stay in, or I'll be like, no, that's worth going out for.
No, I like, sometimes I'll be like, I'll hit up somebody like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Oh, I'm going to this bar. Sure, I'll go. But no, I don't like going out at all. It's a lot of, it's like, I have to like hype myself up, and like, I do get exhausted after everything.
So knowing, when you go to Schmoes Wednesdays, like knowing what you're going and what you're gonna, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't drain you.
No. Well, after the show, I get drained.
Yeah.
Because it's a 2-hour live show. So we're just filming there for 2 straight hours, and it's after a full work day when I work my 9 to 5 regular office job. So I go from there to the studio. We set up there. We shoot, record live. Then we wrap up, and then afterwards, I'm like, yeah, it's tiring. But if the show does go well and I'm like, that's a great show, then I have like all this energy going. It depends.
Depends.
Yeah, but with them, I don't know if they're all extroverts. I know like they can all perform and stuff, but I feel like I don't like jumping in on the Schmo show because it's like nerve-wracking.
Why?
Because they're so quick, and Mark is like, Beardo, what do you think? Or Harloff's like, Beardo, play the soundbite. And it's like, I always equate it to like double dutch.
Okay, yeah.
The jump rope, where it's like, they're like already, that's the one with the jump rope, right?
Yeah,
like
with the 2 ropes and they're going inwards.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like they're already going. The show is going. And then like when they throw it to you, it's like, okay, now you jump in. And that's when I get anxiety, where I'm like, oh, fuck, I have to jump in. I have to like time it right.
Yeah.
And where it's like, well, maybe because I'm like off to the side and they throw it to me. But if I was at the main table and I'm like already set and like premiered or whatever and like ready to go, then I'll be fine. But if I'm just jumping in with double dutch, and Mark Ellis talks so fast, it's like you have 5 seconds to get your thought out.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know if I answered the question at all.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Let's go with like 2 more questions, because it's been like a half hour. This episode's gonna be like 2 hours long.
All right. Well, the next question comes from @LaughingStorm89. They ask, favorite sport to play, watch, see live.
I used to like to play baseball. I used to like to play football because football's fun. It's just like the most impactful or most action-packed sport.
High energy.
Yeah. To play, he said.
So play, watch, and see live. So watch at home or watch.
I don't
live.
like to watch any sports at home. Like, what's the point?
I watch football.
I do, but it's like because I have money on it.
Oh.
Like I can't just be like, let me watch the football game. It's like boring. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Every week it's the same, and it's the same thing throughout like 10 games or however many you played that day, that week, whatever.
You don't get like excited for your teams?
I don't care. That's the thing. Like, I don't care. Like, they don't know if I am rooting for them. They don't care. Like, they don't know who their fans are.
Yes.
Like, so it's like, why do I care? Like, and they're gonna go on whether or not I care about it, and it's gonna go on the next week and the next week and the next year and the following year. It's all gonna go. It's all repetitive. It's all gonna be the same thing.
I guess.
I get so bored. But I don't. If I haven't seen it, if
You're
I
so
see
negative.
whatever.
Like, I'm over here like, okay, the Kings game is going on, but I want to know the score. And
The Kings game's playing right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
it started at 7:30.
But I don't like shun anybody for caring about it. I'm just like, cool, good for you.
Yeah.
Like that's whatever you're into. I wish.
But like if you were watching it live, you'd kind of be more invested.
Yeah, I think I've been to a Kings game live, and it's really fun.
Yeah,
And
hockey live is fun.
Hockey's fun live. I haven't been to an NFL game live, but I think that would be fun to go to. And I've been to a Clipper game, but a long time ago.
Yeah.
Basketball's fun too because it's always like back and forth.
Yeah.
But like I wish I was passionate about it, but I just don't care.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's like it's separate people. It's like the guy who's into sports who can rattle off sports numbers. It's like I don't care how many yards this guy can run. I don't give a shit. It doesn't affect me at all.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next question.
Last one?
And is
or two?
There's only one more.
Okay. Last one.
The last one is going to be from @Ayla. Eyal.
Is that backwards? It's EYAL. That looks like lay backwards. Whatever.
Yeah.
Aya Shaster.
Yeah, Shar. Anyways, this person asks, what skater did you play with in Tony Hawk Pro Skater?
Kareem Campbell. He was always the best because I can learn his special easily. It was like an easy special too, so you can always do it like easily and then manual into it and then do it again easily. I forgot what the special was.
I just button mash.
Yeah, so that's why you're awful at it.
Yeah.
Like I was precision with that shit.
But I had so much fun.
Who was your skater?
I want to say Tony Alba, but you said that that's wrong.
I don't think he was in any of the games. Tony Alba?
I want to say it was, but I don't think it was Tony Hawk Pro Skater that we would play.
It was probably Underground.
Well, wait. It was the very first PlayStation, the very first Tony Hawk.
Really?
Yeah.
Tony Alba was in the original?
I don't know.
Wow.
I want to say that's who it was, but I don't exactly remember. I just remembered it was like a semi-dark player.
Semi-dark? Tony Alba's a white guy.
He's not that. He's like, okay, Tony Hawk is white. Like, like you very fair skin.
Yeah.
Whereas like Tony Alba's like not as.
Because he's like a surfer dude, so he has like that surfer tan.
Yeah. So
I guess.
I don't know.
Like a white guy.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'll look it up and see if Tony Alba's in the original. But
right.
I was always Kareem Campbell like as like a general skater, but for like the street, I was Rodney Mullen because he was awesome on the street. And then who would I be for like vert? I guess Tony Hawk would be vert. But Tony Hawk's so generic. Like you don't want to be Tony Hawk.
I have no clue what you just said.
We'll move on. Is that
is the last question, though.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the Don't Be a Beardo podcast with a special guest. What's your name again?
My name's Alexis Tula.
And thank you guys for watching. If you're still watching, this has been a long episode. Thank you so much for watching. Let's wrap it up. What else can we say?
Make sure you go see Blade Runner
2049. Oh, and if this doesn't show up on video, because I did a screenshot thing with RB3, like he was in the corner and I was over there. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work because it was the first time I tried it. I tried to like record the screen with myself and him over Skype, and it was last minute. If it doesn't work, sorry. But yeah, leave a comment, subscribe, check out the stores.
Give it a big thumbs up.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you to Rode for these microphones and the mic stands and everything and all this stuff. It looks pretty cool. What?
Go Kings, go.
Thank you to Rode. And if we might have extra Rode jackets, so if you guys are interested in winning one, maybe I'll give one away on this not at this episode, but if you're interested at all, then hit me up and we'll be like, oh, we'll give a Rode jacket away.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. So do that. Follow me at Schmoes Beardo, Twitter and Instagram. Check it out on iTunes. Don't Be a Beardo podcast. And let's get out of here. I'm done.
All right.
It's like midnight. It's not really midnight. It's like 8 o'clock, but I'm tired. I'm an old man. Let's get out of here. Bye.
Bye.